and speak to Jeffrey Feltman. He is the former Undersecretary General for Political Affairs at the United Nations. He joins us live from Washington. Thank you for taking the time to speak to us on the NewsHour. The White House has revealed that this conversation has taken place between US President Donald Trump and Khalifa Haftar. Are we possibly entering a new, more dangerous phase in the Libyan conflict for Khalifa Haftar to receive this sort of recognition from the US president?
Yes, I think we absolutely are facing a more dangerous stage. There's high risk of a real battle for Tripoli escalating. We don't know what took place in the actual phone call. All we have is the White House readout. And Haftar would certainly use that readout, if not the actual words of the president, as words of encouragement. I don't think there's a coincidence that this phone call took place apparently on Monday, and on Tuesday was when Haftar started his indiscriminate shelling of Tripoli civilian neighborhoods. So I think it's very discouraging, particularly after such a strong, positive statement from Secretary of State Mike Pompeo only a week earlier, calling on a halt to the violence, calling on Haftar to stop his advance, and calling for the parties to return to a political process.
So are you suggesting that the White House is at odds with the Pentagon and the State Department on this?
Well, I can't help but draw a comparison between the lengthy, detailed, positive, in terms of its intention statement from Secretary of State Pompeo from a week ago, compared to the White House readout today of what they're saying the Monday phone call was. I can't help but wonder if this is linked to President Sisi's visit to the Oval Office, that there was a discussion perhaps between President Sisi of Egypt and Haftar, in which Sisi was able to persuade Trump that backing Haftar was a more promising approach than trying to have a peaceful political process.
Haftar appears to have underestimated the force that would stand in his way for control of Tripoli, which evidently he is unable to do without some sort of external assistance. Does President Trump's current involvement now increase the chance of an escalated regional intervention?
I mean, I think what at least the readout of the Trump phone call does is it takes the leverage out of the hands that those that wanted to try to save lives and those that wanted to try to build a political process. Because you're right, I think General Haftar did realize that the battle for Tripoli was going to be tougher than he expected. He expected to waltz in relatively easily, the way he had with some of the towns and cities in the south. That's not happening. And I think that the defenders of Tripoli also realize it's a pretty tough battle. So there was hope that one could find a face-saving way to move the leaders away from a military approach and back toward a political process. But I think that the White House readout has undermined the chances for diplomacy, has undermined the chances to try to save lives at this important juncture.
But we've also seen disappointing diplomacy, or perhaps the lack of it, from the United Nations. The Security Council did not support a ceasefire in Libya. Should their efforts instead be concentrated on preventing violation of the UN arms embargo? Because, as we can see, external backers are clearly continuing to supply weapons and support to their partners inside Libya.
I mean, I think the Security Council has abdicated its responsibility for peace and security when it comes to Libya. There are resolutions on the book that call for backing the UN Special Representative, Hassan Salami. There are resolutions calling for an arms embargo on all parties. The Security Council is not reinforcing those resolutions. The Security Council has failed to even issue strong press condemnations of the military assault on Tripoli. I think the Security Council has failed in its responsibility to the Libyan people and to the international community. And there's hypocrisy. How can the Security Council back resolutions, say that they're supporting a UN political process, at the same time they refuse to even condemn with words a military assault that would undermine that political approach?
Thank you very much for sharing your views with us. Jeffrey Feltman, former Undersecretary of State for Political Affairs at the UN. Thank you.
Thank you.